Let me have your attention, please. Let me have your attention, please. Let me welcome you to this 2021 Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax. The mayor had a conflict and could not be here at 5:30. I've got a sneaky suspicion he's going to show up anyway, even though he has a conflict. I'm sure he will get out of that early and be here because certainly he wants to be a part of this. I am going to introduce members of our city council because I want to be clear that as staff, we are not here to advocate for or against the special purpose local option sales tax. And I'll say that again. As staff, we are not here to ask anyone for a vote. We're not here to ask anyone to support or not support. We are not advocates for supporting or not supporting the special purpose local option sales tax. As staff, we are only here to educate, answer questions, provide information. On the other hand, we've got some people here who can do that, but not staff. And so I want to recognize our two at-large city councilors, City Councilor Judy Thomas and City Councilor John House. Thank you for being here. And then we've got some district councilors, District Councilor Charmaine Crabb and District Councilor Toya Tucker. We've got department heads here around the room, our finance director, engineering director, our inspections and codes director, our fire EMS chief. We've got the person who is going to actually present some projects to you tonight, Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge. And we're happy that we have people. We're fortunate to have CCG TV because we can televise things live and we can rebroadcast and we can YouTube live stream. We can do all that stuff. And so with those technology resources, that's exactly what we're doing tonight. And so I want to thank those who are here in person and want to thank those who are watching by television or about using other technology. And I don't know if I recognize Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin, but she's here also. But thank you for your attendance. Thank you for watching by television. With that, and I'm sure the mayor will have comments if he is able to make it from his other conflict. But with that, I am going to invite to the podium, the mic, Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge, and she'll tell you how we're going to do this tonight.
Before you go, for those people who are watching, do they want to attend one of the later
Yes.
meetings?
Yes, we've got a meeting tonight. We've got a meeting Thursday night at the same location, 5:30 until 7. And then we've got one next Monday, the 21st of June, from 5:30 to 7. And so you can come to each and every meeting if you just like coming out here and being with us, or you can watch it on television, CCG TV, each and every time if you just like this show. Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge will tell you how to reach us and how to make comments, share your input, and do all of that, because this will be a list of projects that you, the citizens, the people of this community, will decide what's on the ballot, if it goes on the ballot. The power flows from the people to the government. That's government. So with that, Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge.
So good evening. We are here tonight to talk about the special purpose local option sales tax. And the mayor, as well as the councilors, have talked about back to basics, taking care of those assets within the city that we have, and not new asset. So we'll go through this presentation. We'll be happy to answer any questions. There is the ability for people watching from home to also ask questions if you're not here in person, and I will go through that really quick. And I have this slide throughout the presentation. So if you are at home and wish to ask a question, or if you're in the audience and wish to ask a question, you don't want to come up to the mic, you can go on your computer, www.menti.com, MENTI.com. It'll pull up a code. The screen will look like this. You'll type in the code 5897918 and hit submit, and you'll come to this screen. So all you have to do is type in your question and hit enter. We have someone that will be monitoring this, and at the end of the session, she will be sending me all of the questions that were posed during our time today, and we'll be able to respond to all those questions. So let me pull that back up on the screen. It's menti.com. 5897918 is the code, and you'll be able to type in your questions. You can start typing in your questions anytime throughout the presentation, and we'll respond to those at the end of the meeting. You can also call 706-225-3002. There will not be a way for you to leave a message, so if it's ringing, it's because someone else is ahead of you on the call. So just continue to try or stay on the line, and we'll answer those calls all the way through 7 o'clock and respond to your questions. So this is just the timeline for the SPLOST, and I will be pulling that slide back up again throughout the presentation, just as a reminder for you to be able to see the phone number as well as the code to type that in. But the SPLOST is planned for November 2nd to be on the ballot, and so working backwards from that date, the call for the election will be August the 3rd. Council will review a resolution on July the 27th. So we're under the June-July time period to move this SPLOST forward in order for it to be on the ballot November the 2nd. I also want to mention that on the back table there was just a comment card. You're welcome to put your comments or questions on this and hand it to us at the end of the evening, and we'll be happy to respond to your questions that way as well. We'll have this all posted to our website. We'll be able to share it on social media so that we can get as much feedback from the citizens as we can. So the 2021 SPLOST is recommended for $400 million. That is approximately about a 10-year time period of collections, which is typically how long our previous SPLOST lasted. $200 million of that is proposed for a general obligation bond for the Judicial Center. And then all other projects on the list would be pay-as-you-go. And we'll spend this evening going through those projects and outline those as we move forward. When we started looking at the Government Center several years ago, we had a lot of challenges with the Government Center. We brought in a team to help us evaluate the Government Center and 4 options of how to address issues that we were having with the Government Center. Those 4 options included option 1, which was to renovate the tower and add an addition to the existing Government Center. Option 2 was a new complex on the existing site. Option 3 was a new court on the existing site and the general government administration on a different site. And then option 4 was just to rebuild Judicial Center and administration building, either 1 building or 2 buildings on a new site. So those were the 4 options that our consultants reviewed along with staff and evaluated them. One of the things they looked at was right-sizing the government, looking at the square footage that's required for the operation of city government, which is administration, those things like finance, IT, human resources, city manager's office, mayor's office, inspection and codes, engineering, those administrative city government, as well as looking at the courts and the supporting offices that support the courts. What they found was, for best practices, City government is about the right size. We were at 102,000 square feet. The city government should be about 107,000 square feet. So not much growth anticipated on the city government side. Where we were lacking was on the court side. The way the courts are set up and the way inmates are brought into the courtroom, the way guests coming to the court have to wait, we found that that was lacking in the square footage for best practices. This is just an example. On the left side, you'll see current. This is just the current setup of one of our courts in the government center. The blue is the actual courtroom. The orange is the public circulation, and the red is the inmate section. You can see on the right-hand side what would be considered best practices. Now this, of course, has 2 courtrooms, but those 2 courtrooms would share inmate holding cells between those 2. Right now, there's 1 inmate elevator in the government center, and there's 1 holding cell on 1 floor in the government center. This would allow for inmates to be in a holding cell next to the courtroom, and the sheriff's office would have more control over the inmates as they're entering court. It also allows for circulation of public space, and you can see that in the orange. If you've ever been to a court for any reason, you know that you're standing in the hallway and it's about 6 feet length of a hallway or width of a hallway. And so this allows for proper space for the public who are visiting courtrooms or coming to a court session. So this slide is really hard to read, but just to outline what the consultants looked at was all types of attributes related to these 4 options, including amount of risk, the overall cost they looked at, the building, the functional efficiency. They looked at all of these things as they evaluated those 4 options for the government center. And they established kind of a red, green, yellow, white system to evaluate each one of those attributes for each one of those options. Immediately, they eliminated option 1 and option 4 from those options based on these attributes that they were evaluating these options with. They eventually eliminated option 2, and their recommendation to us was, and to the City Council, was option 3, which is reconstruction of the Judicial Center on the existing site. So this is really what option 3 looked like, was the Judicial Center, and this is just stacking to show the square footage that would be required. This is in no way to look like what the building will look like. These are just blocks on the screen. This is not what the government center or the Judicial Center will look like. But this is just to show what it could look like as far as a floor plan for that Judicial Center, and then the government center would be on a different site. So after that evaluation, we started talking about cost, and we looked at making sure that the Judicial Center cost would be less than $200 million, and that we also looked at having the consultants model the government center city facilities after the health department model, which was taking an existing building and retrofitting, renovating it to fit city government. So those are things that they looked at related to option 3. And so they came down to what we're calling option 3A, which is a new Judicial Center on the government site. Recorder's Court would remain adjacent to the jail, which is a good fit for the sheriff's office. When inmates have to come from the jail to their initial hearings, they're already there, and it's connected to the jail. So Recorder's Court would remain. A new sheriff's administration, once the consolidation of the marshal's office and the sheriff's office took place, potentially that could be at the jail site to make the operations of the sheriff's office more efficient as opposed to in the Judicial Center. And then the city facility could potentially be in a renovated building as opposed to a newly constructed building. So this is just to show you what it potentially could look like at the Government Center site. Here we see the Government Center, which is the tower and the wings. And the phasing of that would be the demolition of the wings, the construction of a new Judicial Center, the demolition of the Government Tower, and then the addition of a parking structure for that Judicial Center. So again, I'll pull this back up just so you have a refresher. You can go to menti.com, type in code 5897918 to ask your questions, or you're welcome to call 706-225-3002. So for the list of SPLOST projects, I'll go through these. This is just a summary of those projects. And I won't read through these individually. I'm going to go through each one. The first one would be the Judicial Center, the $200 million. The Judicial Center would be approximately 310,000 square feet based on best practices in the study that was done by our consultants, and an estimated 500 to 600 parking space facility. This would house all of the court functions, the judges, the clerk's offices for each of those courts, the district attorney's office, public defender, accountability courts, and all other court-related functions. The next project would be Parks and Recreation. One of the things when we were doing public meetings in 2019, and even before that and after that, we hear a lot from citizens about the need for upgrades and improvements to our parks. So the next project is $45 million for Parks and Recreation. This includes park improvements for a lot of our parks: Flat Rock Park, Carver Park, Cooper Creek, Benning Park, Lake Bottom Park, Theo McGee, and Woodruff Farm Soccer Complex. These improvements could include things like replacement of the bathrooms, new pavilions, the trails that are throughout the parks, improvements to those things. We also looked at mini splash pads. If any of you have been downtown on Bay, you see this splash pad that's next to the playground. It's heavily used. And one of the things we wanted to do as an enhancement and an improvement to those parks, Cooper Creek, South Columbus Civic Center, Carver Park, in the Liberty District, Flat Rock Park, and Lake Bottom Park, was recreate some of those mini splash pads for kids in the community that come to the playground, come to the park, just having another amenity at that park. It would also include either a pool or a major splash pad, not a mini splash pad, but a large splash pad replacement at Shirley Winston, Salmon Road Park, and Rigdon Park. And then there would be other park improvements throughout the city. The next project is public safety, specifically facility renovations, $10 million. This would be renovation and upgrade of 3 fire stations, targeting the oldest ones in the fire department, which is Station 4, Station 6, and Station 8. Station 4 is off St. Mary's Road. Station 6 is off Brown Avenue, and Station 8 is off Whitesville Road. And also renovating the public safety building. It was built in the early 90s, and so after this length of time, it is due for some major improvements. Public safety vehicle and equipment, $24 million. This would include the fire department, police department, sheriff's office, things like fire trucks, ambulances, administrative vehicles, pursuit vehicles, target system, inmate transport vans, bomb squad robot, those equipment needed by our law enforcement agencies, replacement of the River Road Tower. This is really important to our 911 system. Pursuit vehicles, again, motorcycles, command vehicle, mobile command units.
Ms. Hodge, what is the River Road Tower? What is this purpose?
That is the 911 tower for our communication system.
So like on 911, it goes through the River Road Tower.
If you're close to that tower, we have, radio transmission, as our engineering director has pointed out. Yes, there are other locations in the city. Transportation, $24 million. This is for resurfacing, $20 million, and expansion of our trail and sidewalk system. Stormwater flood abatement is another thing we hear from our citizens, $20 million. And there was a prioritization list prepared by our consultants, and these are to alleviate the issues with these particular areas for flood and stormwater. Bull Creek Clubhouse and Bridge, $4 million. This would replace the Bull Creek Clubhouse and replace a bridge that's been out at the Bull Creek Golf Course for a number of years, and also a renovation of the Oxbow Creek Clubhouse. Heavy equipment and vehicles, $14 million. This would include anything from tractors, dump trucks, asphalt trucks, mowers, excavators, compactors, all of that equipment that our public works, parks and rec use on a regular basis. Information technology, $5 million to replace computer equipment throughout the city. Economic development, $9 million. This is additional infrastructure and site prep for Muskogee Technology Park, as well as South Columbus redevelopment target area. $5 million for the Trade Center. This would be used to renovate or replace their parking structure. They currently have 397 spaces. We're looking at replacing it with about 500 spaces. We have a bond issue from 2003 where we had allocated about $4 million for a parking structure for the Trade Center, and this would be coupled with that to replace their parking structure. $5 million for improvements at the Civic Center. This would be anything from the roof replacement, new scoreboards, new lighting, looking at their HVAC dehumidifying system at the Civic Center. And then I do want to touch a little bit on the sales tax currently in Muskogee County. Currently the rate is 8%. That includes 4% for the state, 1% for the LOST, 1% for the OLOST, the Education SPLOST, and the T-SPLOST make up that 8% that we currently have. If this SPLOST were to pass in November, it would not take effect until April 1st of 2022. So our sales tax would go to 9% for a 9-month period of time. The T-SPLOST ends at the end of 22, and the voters will have the opportunity to determine if that T-SPLOST will continue to have the sales tax remain at 9%. But come January 1 of 23, the sales tax without that approval will go back to 8%. And this again just shows that there would be a 9% sales tax for a period of 9 months unless the T-SPLOST is renewed. This provides the history of the T-SPLOST as well as any LOST, OLOST, E-SPLOST, which is the Education SPLOST, and the City SPLOST that they've had in the past. Again, the public meeting tonight will be also having public meetings this Thursday, the 17th, as well as next Monday, the 21st. And again, I'll just bring up the code that you can enter on menti.com, or you may call in with your questions at 706-225-3002. So at this time, we'll be happy to answer any questions from the audience or anyone at home that would like to call in or submit a question. We'll be happy to respond to those questions. Yes, sir. And if
My name is Joe. I didn't see anything on there for Flat Rock Park. You have a great Hello. My name is Joe, and I've actually got a couple things, but the main one has to do with Flat Rock Park. I did not see any monies allocated to better that whole facility. The toilets probably haven't been addressed since 1930s. That's one thing. You have a natural shell area there that is akin to Chastain Park in Atlanta, where they have big venues come to town and people pay money to see them. We could do the same thing here and make money at it. That's number one. Number two, this new big building we're talking about for the Judicial Center and renovations around. My former background did a lot with quality assurance. Our current tower underwent major problems because plumbing, electricity, and a whole bunch of other things failed in the realm of maintainability. What are we doing? Do you have somebody to insist on quality factors to be built into the new building? Okay? The other thing is a small thing. I happen to be associated with George Washington Carver Farm, which is going in off of Martin Luther King Boulevard. It's a big project, 10 acres worth of farm out there. They need a toilet or two. And again, that's the potential for a big money-making effort for the whole city, if it was done right. I would like to see some of that other money for parks and recreation to put at least 2 good toilet facilities there. That's all I got. Thank
Okay.
you. You got any questions for me?
I do want to respond. Part of the $45 million that we have outlined would be park improvements at Flat Rock Park. That is on the list for improvements. So that is one of the parks that we would target.
But I mean, some of the things I noticed, we got Mr. John House here, military contacts. To put that together and to save money for the city, they could do a hand-in-glove arrangement with the base to accomplish what needs to be done there to really turn that into a fantastic park. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to respond to the
Other questions, the hard ones.
hard ones?
Well, but let me just first of all thank Joe for speaking out and sharing with us what you would like to see. And you heard me say earlier that you, the people, the citizens, decide what you want on the list. And Joe, I will tell you, if there is something specific, I think you said amphitheater or something like that, that you want on the list, then you can tell us that you want that on the list. And so what we're going to do is put those things on the list, and ultimately it will go, the list will go to City Council for their approval based on what the people have said they want. That would go on the ballot if you decide you want a sales tax on the ballot. So first of all, thank you for sharing with us what you want at Flat Rock Park. And to your question about the Judicial Center and what we have not done with the existing building, I will say to you that, of course, the building was constructed in 1971, and there's a lot of history to that government center building over the years. And part of the history has to do with inmates. Some are plumbers, some are electricians, and trying to do things in-house. And if you decide that you want a judicial center and we get a new building, I would not recommend that we use inmates to do plumbing and electrical work and anything that needs to be done, we need either a professional maintenance team or we need to contract it out. And so to that question that you have, I can tell you as city manager, I would not support an inmate touching anything in the building, plumbing and all of that stuff. That is not something they ought to be doing. It should be done by professionals, and we need money for maintenance. Yes, sir.
Mr. Ridgely, I appreciate that. I did not mean to go toward inmate servicing or maintaining. I meant the standards ought to be put in place.
Absolutely.
To say that, for instance, all doors will be of such a size, period.
Oh, yeah.
So that if you have to replace one, it's a snap. You don't have to deal with 15 sizes
Yeah.
of doors.
Yes.
Lighting shall be of a certain standard, type, of quality.
We're in agreement.
Those kinds of
Yes.
standards throughout. Maybe a ramp to wherever there's stairs, you gotta have a ramp, something.
We,
The standards.
absolutely.
And so that the maintenance guy, whoever it is, the maintenance company, 10 years down the road, doesn't have to go through 15 books to find out what he needs to replace here in this particular instance.
We're-
As was the case
Yeah.
with our current wonderful lady that maintained a lot of buildings around our campus. So,
And I agree. We're in agreement. And the reason we have some of that is for all of the things that I mentioned that we won't have going forward. Even today, you can't remove a wall, you can't remove a door unless you go through our engineering, our inspections and codes, and have to have an architectural seal on it. We don't let you do it. You know, but in the past, it was kind of loose. You know, but I get your point. We understand. We're on the same page. And there was a third.
About the restrooms at the
Oh,
MLK.
yeah,
farm.
yeah. Restrooms at MLK Farm, I think he, okay, on the MLK Trail, okay, I got you. So on the MLK Trail, we could do something, but on private property, we could not. And so as long as it's associated with our trail and it's a trailhead, yes, we could.
okay, that particular farm that they mentioned of
Yeah,
is actually on school property,
Yeah.
Marshall Success Center area.
yeah,
So, which is,
yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm done.
I'm with you on that, Joe, I got it, understand. So if that farm comes together, we could have a trailhead situated near or at that farm that citizens could then use. I get it. Thank you.
So are there other questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
You can come to the mic.
If you want to come to the mic. Or we can... Hi. Hello.
My name is Nadine Moore, 925 Charleston Avenue, Columbus, Georgia. My question is, how much total is this SPLOST you're asking for, and how long? Is it going to be 5 years, or when does it sunset?
It would be $400 million, and it would sunset when the amount is collected.
So,
For the city or for consolidated governments, if a general obligation bond is issued in conjunction with the SPLOST, it will be collected until that amount is collected. We're estimating that will be approximately 10 years, but based on our current collection rate, it will probably be a little less than that.
so how much, on the average, how much are you getting per one SPLOST? Let's say the 2003, the first loss. How much are you getting at that?
Well, we're collecting almost $41 million a year for
Okay,
a sales tax.
What office can I call in the state just to see how much money is coming in?
There is a website online that you can go to for the State of Georgia Department of Revenue.
Okay.
And if you will call either myself or the finance director, Angelica Alexander, we can connect you directly to that website, and you can see the monthly collections for every sales tax in the state, actually.
Okay, now, as far as the Judicial Center, yeah, I do, ever since Porter Chef was on city council, we've been meeting another one of those, another trade, the government center, ever since then. Now, when we collected that 1999 SPLOST, that probably we thought was gonna end in 2005, but y'all continued to collect for 14 years.
That SPLOST ended in 2008 at the time that we collected the amount that was listed in the notice of the election.
But
So,
you kept it, but it was, every time something was coming up, it was you paying for it with the 99 SPLOST. Because that was a concern at one time, and that was, you said 2008?
2008 was the
Okay.
end of the collection period, but the projects were completed after 2008. So, you know, there were a lot of pay-as-you-go projects that were done throughout that 10-year period and after 2008, but the collection actually stopped in 2008.
Okay, who created this list?
This list was created from public meetings that we had in 2019 before the pandemic.
That pandemic interrupted some of that.
It did. It delayed us for about a year, and City Council determined they wanted to extend that due to the pandemic. But this list was conjunction with those public meetings and then input that we received from department heads on needs in their department.
Oh, okay, because public safety, 34 million. Why are we even doing anything for public safety when we gave them a 2008 loss? Public safety, 70%, and infrastructure, 30%. And a lot of this is in that. The roads and sidewalks, that's infrastructure, 24 million. We've been collecting that ever since 2009. The trade center, civic center, I see, but a lot of this stuff is redundant. We already doing a tax on that. And we need to, that 2008 loss, we got about 2,400 streets in Columbus. Might be a little bit more than that. I'm taking pictures of all of that. We need to satisfy that. You got potholes everywhere. You're not really doing that loss right. You're not treating that, we're not getting what we paid for in that loss. And public safety, with crime prevention and all of that, we even gave $1 million for crime prevention, and the crime is going up. So I think we need to go back and satisfy all of that and before we start. And they heavy equipment and vehicles. 14 million, okay, with the T-SPLOST, you got discretionary income, discretionary so you can buy your vehicles. I can't hardly talk through this math. But when I call to find out if the trash man coming, it's because they're running behind, they don't have the equipment and stuff like that. So that brings concern to me. Yeah, I think we should have another sales tax, but I think we also should wait. And the reason why I'm saying that is you are benefiting from the price increase going on in the city. Public light bill went up 10% last 5 years. So with that 5% increase, you got 2 extra cents with them 2 sales taxes, the 2 losses that we have.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so you get benefit from it anyway. And then we need to go back and do this list right. Because on that economic development, you need to put another 50 million to replace the 20 million that Total System stole from us.
Wait.
Well,
Wait.
that was misdirected. I'm sorry.
Okay, so do you have a final question, because
You can rush me, I'm gonna put it on YouTube if you don't listen to me here, because
That's okay.
I want y'all to
That's
have a sales tax.
yeah.
But it needs to be more something for
Okay.
the people.
This list will be the
Well, if you don't
people's,
do something for the people, I'm guaranteeing you, this sales tax ain't gonna pay.
okay. Well, thank you for your comments and observation, but this list of projects will be, as I've said to Joe, and I say to those watching by television, and all of the ones present here, it will be the list that you decide, if there's a list that goes forward to City Council. This list that Deputy City Manager Hodge has presented and shared with you tonight was a list composed from 2019. by the people. And so if you want something on the list, you know, that's why we're here, to listen to you. And if you don't like something that's on the list, then because someone else put it on, we'll carry it forward, and then our city council will decide the final list and the priority. But if you want something on the list, you can ask that it be put on the list. And so every promise that we made in previous special purpose local option sales taxes, every promise made was kept. And we have records to verify it. And so I just want to be clear about any statements that are made, that promises made have been kept. And if we make another promise, if the elected officials do, I know that they keep their promises. Joe, you got something else? And I want to the mayor has come in. I told you I figured he would come in here. I know that he had another commitment, but he's here. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, sir.
I notice you have $5 million allocated for IT. How much of that is really for software as opposed to hardware?
Most of it would be for personal computers, replacement of computers, servers. It would not be for software.
Okay, good.
This is capital equipment purchase.
Equipment, good. I strongly urge that when you, for everyone that's taken out of the government building, that unit be given to like the senior centers. I go to the Gallup Center just about every other day, and the computers there for the people, not for the staff, but for the people, are like vintage 1995. They barely work, you barely log on. So if I want to talk to my grandkids or something, it's a major problem. So get that hardware disposed at those facilities before it goes to other entities. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think there's a question.
So other questions from the audience? Anything?
We do have one question that's come in from someone viewing at home. Will any of the existing recreation centers be replaced? I think the last SPLOST built some of the newest recreation center, which was 20 years ago. This SPLOST right now is looking at improvements to the parks, not necessarily replacement of the recreation centers, but that's definitely something that we'll add to the list for consideration, is replacement of those recreation centers, because they were built with the 1999 SPLOST, and so they have, most of them are about 20 years old. So thank you for your question from home, and we will add that to our list. Are there other questions? Anyone again from home? I'll put that back up on the screen so you'll have that number as well as the online access where you can submit your questions. That's www.menti.com. You'll enter the code 5897918 and you'll be able to type in your question, as well as you can call 706-225-3002 and we'll respond to your question as well.
How long will that be available?
We'll make that available until 7 o'clock, until we're here.
But if I think of something in the middle of the night, I can't get up.
No, if you think of something in the middle of the night, you can email me or call my office, and I will respond to you in the morning.
Is there any way that could be continued so that if somebody does think of something?
Yes, we'll leave the,
Between meetings, I'm thinking.
yes, ma'am, we can leave the Menti site up with that code number. The phone number will only be used during the public meeting itself, but you're welcome to call my office, 706-225-4022, or email is phodge, that's PHODGE, @columbusga.org. You're welcome to send an email or call my office, and we'll be happy to talk to you about the SPLOST as well as add any comments. We will have our comment card on our Facebook page, as well as listed on our website. You can fill out the comment card. You can get a hold of us if you want to call 311. They'll direct you to my office as well to hear your comments or questions. Is there anyone else that wants to ask a question while we're in the open meeting? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Hello, I'm Charmaine Crabb, District 5 City Councilor. And I sit in that seat right there because I got involved in 2 tax disputes. So I think that I set an example that I'm a tax advocate. And I just want to bring to your attention my thoughts on a SPLOST versus taxes in general. I think a SPLOST gives the citizens the right to taxation with representation. And I'd like to encourage our citizens to get involved, to talk to the city councilors, talk to the staff, come to these meetings, use the website, because this is your chance to have representation with taxes. The thing about SPLOSTs is you have to vote them in. That's another level of representation that we are giving to, no, we're not giving it to you. This government does not give you the power. You have the power. You give it to us. And so we're just asking you to not give your power away. Use your power for the good. I think we have some really good projects on this list. There's a couple of them that I'd really like to hear from the citizens about. That is the mini splash pads and the expansion of trails, because I do not think that that necessarily fits in with the back to the basics. That is adding new, and I am a strong believer in, if we can't take care of what we have now, let's not add anything else until we can take care of everything. But that isn't necessarily my decision. That will be yours. If you guys believe that we can expand and take care of it, then we want to hear that from you. So I appreciate the people that have come here tonight. I look forward to some other successful meetings, and thank you.
So, any final questions from the audience?
We have no more questions so far.
Again, we're having these meetings, the one tonight, there's one Thursday, 5:30 to 7, and one next Monday, the 21st, from 5:30 to 7, right here in the City Council chambers. This Thursday, next Monday, and we're televising live, and we're allowing those people who don't want to come out for whatever reason, they can email, they can send their questions, they can send their wish list of things that they want to see in a special purpose local option sales tax. It's important, and you just heard the counselor speak, that your voice be heard. If you want something on the list that you want your city councilors to consider. And so please let us hear from you. Let your voices be heard. And if there are no final questions in this room and we don't have any coming in online, then I'm going to ask the mayor if he would just come and greet this crowd. I told you I knew the mayor had a conflict, and so our mayor, Skip Henderson, I knew he had a conflict, but I said I have a sneaky suspicion he's going to finish doing what he's been called to do, and he's going to show up here, and I predicted right.
I'm just checking it. Be very brief. I just want to add my thanks to the citizens for showing up and reiterate what you've already heard, and that is that this SPLOST is about you guys. This list was not compiled by anybody in the government. Other than that Judicial Center, there was no seated recommendations. This has all been developed by people through a series of meetings. And the great thing is, I think, about having an opportunity to let it kind of simmer for a year, is now we can go back out to people and we can say, all right, this is what you thought 2 years ago, tell me what you think now. So let's kind of work through this list, and that's going to be a critical part of it. And I thank you for participating in it, Joe, Nadine, and the rest of you that didn't have an opportunity to ask any questions. And I will remind you that you can call Pam up to midnight. After midnight, you can call the city manager. And thank y'all for being here.
He allows the phone too.
Yes, he does. He does.
So we will keep the phone line as well as the online questions open, but we will call this public meeting to a close. We will keep those phone lines open until 7, and we'll respond to any questions through the online application. If you give us your email address, we'll send you a response. But thank you so much for coming this evening. We appreciate it.